or disagree in how you would rank these guys and how you would move them around. From 10 down to 1, here we go. Number 10,
Okay.
Dan Marino.
Okay.
Number 9, Drew Brees.
All right.
Number 8 on the list of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time, according to Fox Sports, Brett Favre. Number 7, Mark's childhood idol, Terry Bradshaw. Number 6, Aaron Rodgers. Mark's source was impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, John Elway. Number 4, Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, Peyton Manning. Number 2, Joe Montana. And number 1, the world's greatest American, according to Mark Schlereth, Tom Brady. How do you feel about that list? Did they get it right? Did they get it wrong? Did they get it partly right? What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I can argue with any of those guys in the top 10. Did you guys have somebody, you just moved them around, or you had somebody you thought should be in the top 10 that's not in there?
Well, I would have had Peyton at 2 ahead of Montana.
Shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I would have changed things up. Mahomes at 4, whatever, that's fine. We'll see how this thing plays out. He's in the middle of his career, so that's fine to me. Bradshaw at 7, I think that's a little high for me.
High.
I think he should be,
Right.
more around 10 or maybe outside the top 10. I don't know who was outside the top 10 there. I know he won a lot of Super Bowls, but I mean, I don't know if I got him inside my top 10 there.
Are we comfortable with Elway at 5? Is that a good ranking for Elway? Should he be higher, lower? Is 5 a good spot?
Well, would you move anybody? Would you move him ahead of Patrick Mahomes, ahead of Peyton Manning, ahead of Joe Montana, or ahead of Brady? And the answer is no.
No.
You wouldn't.
For a long time, I've always consistently had John in my top 5, but I think it says something that he seems to continue to hold steady there, and the test of time is holding up well for John. That he at least these rankings that I see, he tends to always show up in the top 5, which is good. I haven't seen him dropping.
Yeah, I think. And I know I would get a lot of pushback on this, but I would put Marino up there. I mean, I'd put him right behind Elway. And I know he didn't win a Super Bowl.
I know.
Gosh, I know, Evans. I do know.
No,
I
I'm
got it.
not arguing with you.
But you talk about just pure quarterback. I mean,
yeah.
So I'm putting a lot of respect on that and the things that he was able to accomplish. And so I would besides winning the dang Super Bowl, I'd put Marino up there, right behind Elway.
Yeah, Marino was so damn good for so damn long, and a lot of it is, I think a lot of us who kind of follow the game and played the game always look at Marino as one of the best that's ever done it, obviously. But I'm with you on the Terry Bradshaw thing. I also like Dan Marino, Brett Favre. Brett Favre, he turned the ball over so many times, and I think I would put Dan Marino above Brett Favre. Actually, I'd put Drew Brees probably above Brett Favre.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Keep going. I like it.
So, I mean, I would, if I was going to rearrange these a little bit, I would probably put Brett Favre maybe at 10. And I think I'd move Drew Brees up. I think I'd move Bradshaw back. Dan Marino, I'm with you on Dan Marino. I think I'd move him up. So I don't really, 6 through 1, I don't really have a problem with those. It's 7 is kind of that delineating line where you would start kind of moving guys around.
The thing about Dan Marino, you got to remember, and Dan Marino, to me, is almost like the poster child of when I always make the argument that whether you like it or not, you got to win championships. You have to. If you want to be included in the greatest of all time discussion, you have to have that championship ring, because otherwise it's easy to forget guys. And a guy like Marino should easily be in the top 5. If he won one Super Bowl on all these lists, he would easily be in the top 5. You got to remember, we live in a time now where all we hear is about how the rules are set up to really favor offenses, favor quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are protected, wide receivers are protected, and everybody's throwing for more than 4,000 yards, right? Well, Marino was doing it back in 1984 when a quarterback, a guy like John Elway would have a great year and he'd throw for 3,000 yards.
Yeah.
Right? He would throw for 22 touchdowns. That was a great year for a quarterback. back in that time. Back in that time, Marino, year 2 in the NFL, 5,100 yards. Year 3, 4,100. Year 4, 4,700. I mean, he was putting up numbers and 48 touchdowns, 30 touchdowns, 44 touchdowns. He was putting up numbers at a time where nobody was putting up numbers like this. And
yeah, that 48 touchdown thing blew everybody away. And then it wasn't until Peyton Manning, 2 decades later,
and Peyton and
Stoke,
thank you.
put up 40 and put up 49.
That's right. That's right.
And then the next year Brady beat it. But
no, not the next year. No, not the next. It was a couple years after that. We had that thing for a while.
All right, what about
for a couple years?
What about Aikman and Young not on this list?
Okay. All right. I you could make an
argument. Would you put Aikman? Would you take like a Bradshaw off, or would you take somebody off to put Aikman on there? Aikman's got 3 world championships when you put him over Brett Favre.
Yeah.
What about any quarterbacks now in the game right now? Do you think could enter this top 10?
Other than Mahomes,
he's in it already. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Then you look at the young guys. How about Jaden Daniels? I mean, that's a conversation to have after year 1.
How about Bo Nix?
I'm about to get there, Mike. If you let this is my topic.
Well, maybe if you had led with Bo, you'd have had a little bit more credibility.
I'm gonna finish with Bo. I'm gonna hit you with the finisher.
All right, sorry.
Right?
Sorry.
I'm setting this thing up, and I go Jaden Daniels, and I go Bo Nix. So, what do y'all think? Any of those guys can make this top 10?
Oh, I think Josh Allen's got a chance. I think obviously Lamar Jackson's got a chance. I think there's a lot of guys that have a chance. But to Mike's point, you got to come away with some championships.
Yep.
You got to get for Josh Allen, man. You got to get there at some point. We just can't keep talking about how good you are. At some point,
Lamar?
You got to get there.
Lamar's won 2 MVPs. So it's like neither one of those guys have been there. Marino at least got there.
He did get to a Super Bowl very early in his career.
I think it was his rookie year, wasn't it?
I think it was that second year.
Second year, okay.
Second year.
So it was. I think when you look at Lamar and Josh, they got to at least get there. And so one of those guys has to dethrone Kansas City. What about Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow.
Is that how he's? Is that how he?
Joe Burrow?
Is that
Joe
how
Burrow.
Is that how we're supposed to officially?
Yes.
Is that the Louisiana pronunciation?
That's the Louisiana pronunciation.
Joe Burrow.
Burrow. Does he have a chance? He's been to one. He's going to have, especially if Jamar Chase is around him. I mean, he's going to have talent there offensively. He had a great year this year. Could he crack it? Does he need to win one?
You got to win one.
Yeah.
If you're going to crack the top 5, you have to win a championship.
You should get extra credit, though. You should get extra credit for playing in Cincinnati, though, right?
That is true.
Good point. Good point.
You
Did
look.
you see the article?
Well,
Did you see the article about the scouting departments in the AFC North?
No,
dude. It was like the Pittsburgh Steelers had 24 guys in their scouting department, and then the Cleveland Browns had 20 guys in their scouting department. Baltimore Ravens had 16 guys in their scouting department. Cincinnati Bengals had 4 guys in their scouting department.
4?
Yeah.
Those guys are working 24/7, 365.
Right.
I mean, they're going all over the country nonstop. And they're not flying them first class either.
No.
Again, we've talked a lot about this.
I know where you're going.
You look at the ownership group.
Yep.
And taking care of guys and doing things the right way, and how fortunate we are here with the new ownership group. You look at Paul Brown, and that was the dad, right? Is that the son too? Are they both Paul? Is there a junior, or second, or third? But you look at how they run that team. You literally have Joe Burrow campaigning the week of the Super Bowl and still campaigning to pay his guys. To take care of his guys, the players that they've drafted, that they've developed, that they've signed in free. Pay our guys, please. You can do it. Look at the Eagles. Look, you can pay more than one guy a lot of money. And, what is that going to look like moving forward for a guy like Joe Burrow?
Oh, Joe Burrow might force his way out of Cincinnati. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, Joe Burrow. He may say, I've had enough of this. I got to get out of here.
But you're making an excellent point there. when I think back to the whole discussion about the ownership thing, when we were going through the different groups, we were vetting our own groups as to who would be good, and there's just no other way to put it.